think creativity is just so fragile, at least it is for me. Like I have so many doubts and so many insecurities, and I don't know if I like question myself on the daily if I'm worthy or if I'm good enough to create this business or to create as well as I want to. And it's easier for me to like see the like brilliance in other people, and I really enjoy encouraging that, to pull that out. Like I want to help them look good so they can shine, and I just like to be in the background, I guess.
Is that a way of you hiding?
Yeah, that's probably a way of me hiding. Yeah.
What are you hiding from?
I think I'm just hiding from being like truly seen and known, and I'm afraid that if I don't like myself, that other people aren't going to like me, and if I'm truly seen and known, then I'm not going to be liked, or I'm going to be criticized, or saying like someone's going to say that looks like crap, what are you doing? Like, this isn't important. And I think I'm hiding because I don't know what I'm doing. Like most of the time I just feel like I'm a mess. Just feel like I don't have any direction. But I think that's okay. That's what we're all just like trying to figure that out, and I don't know, we just have to embrace our pace, even if it's frustrating, even if you are taking baby steps, like that's still progress. It's really hard to remember that. It's really hard to tell yourself that and be okay with that. Like you want all this stuff, but then you want all your dreams, you want them to change the world, but it takes a long time. It's hard to show up every day when you're not sure and you're insecure and you don't feel worthy. But yeah, I think it's good to be surrounded by like successful women, and like yesterday in our meeting, I was so scared because everybody felt like they knew what they were doing. They're successful in their businesses, and I kind of felt like an underdog. And so I was really nervous, and it's like I question my work, and I question myself, and I question my talents like on the daily, as everybody else was so confident, and I want to be confident like that in my work and in my purpose, and I guess that's what I'm here for.
I'm Lauren, still figuring out who I am and how I want to show up for myself personally. So when I think about who I am, I'm still learning how I want to show up in the world and how I want to present myself in my business as a human being, as a woman. And what I'm leaning into is that I am a constant evolution, and I am learning to trust that, and I am learning to celebrate that and be okay with that, and knowing that how I may have described myself last year feels wildly different than how I describe myself today, and how I may describe myself a year from now may look and sound wildly different than how I would describe myself today.
No, but that's so honest though.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know.
And that's okay.
say, oh, I'm a chameleon. Like, I change who I am based on who I'm around. Knowing who, or thinking who they want me to be. Right? Like, I want them to like me. I want them to love me. I want to be exactly who they want me to be. Because the fear of rejection is just like, it's too terrifying. And what I realized most recently, and like when I showed up here at camp, like one thing I'm just trying to do, and it feels wildly uncomfortable in this space because like with the work that we do, I connect with people online. I'm like a face, you know. And so in this space, I'm showing up in my wholeness, and I realized that I would show up as fragments of myself. Because I'd have people tell me all the time, like, oh, Lauren, you're so real, you're so authentic, like on your podcast or on Instagram. And I was like, I am, but I'm not.
Yeah.
And I realized it was like I was authentic to the point where it felt comfortable, like in this fragment of myself, like, but not in my wholeness. And so I am working on showing up wholly as Lauren. Like, who am I as a whole person? Like, as my whole self, who am I? And how do I show up as her? And like right now that means sitting in the discomfort, which feels like when I was journaling this morning, it was coming up and it was so incredibly uncomfortable because we're not used to showing up as that person. Like, not only do you feel like the world's meeting her, but like I feel like I'm meeting her for the first time.
Right.
Which feels exciting and also terrifying because it's like, oh, I have to be and introduce, and I want to be and introduce this new self to the world, and it just feels raw.
Right. Right. I totally hear that. And I think that there's something like really beautiful about like that rawness and that newness though. Like I like to think of it as like you are becoming like better acquainted with like your truest self.
Yeah.
And there's so much possibility in that, and I think there's so much freedom in that too. And I think that we spend so much of our lives in like different like fragments, like you were saying, of who we are. And I think it's easy to like exist in the fragments that are like polished and put together and like Instagram perfect or like edited beautifully for the podcast.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like there's a lot of the mess and the realness and the imperfection and the insecurity that gets like left on the cutting room floor when that happens. But I think that really in order to like show up in life as like our most authentic selves, we have to embrace the imperfections that come with that. And that's something that like, especially because that's part of my own story, like I'm so incredibly passionate about that. In this environment, it's really amazing to be able to have the opportunity to have these conversations with people who are going through similar struggles or similar seasons of growth. And through that, they're seeing, and like I'm also being shown what it looks like to really step into the insecurities and imperfections and own that instead of like kind of brush that aside or act like that's not a part of who I am. Because I think that if I am going to like live wholeheartedly, I have to embrace all of the parts of myself that I recognize require improvement, or I recognize requires like honesty with myself to say like I can do better. Like this isn't like really at the end of the day like the kind of person I want to be, so I choose to go through like personal growth in order to make that happen. And I just think there's something really magical that happens like when you see that about yourself, but also like we were saying earlier, like when you can model what it looks like to be your most authentic self and to feel at home in your own skin, even with like the hard and like the ugly parts of that, then you demonstrate what it looks like for other people to do the same in their own lives. And there's so much like possibility and freedom that comes with that, I feel.
I often don't feel worthy of things, like of success or of relationships or of my desires. Like my whole life, I felt like I was either, like, I don't know, all of my actions were either like making me more worthy or less worthy of achieving things. So like if I messed up, then I would be less worthy of like good things. When I got married in 2012, and not even a month after we got married, we started working at the summer camp. We worked at a Boy Scout camp. My husband had worked there like previous summers, and long story short, I was like raped by one of his coworkers. We got divorced, and ever since then, I have really just felt unworthy of like any kind of success or relationship or like good thing like in my life. so, yeah, that is just, and that happened, my divorce finalized in 2014, so it's been like 4 years, and I still, like, I'm stuck in that story of, like, I'm not worthy of anything good. And so I'll start things, I'll start businesses, I'll go work somewhere, but then I never really put in, like, the effort that's required to get anywhere because, like, I don't feel like I'm, like, worthy of having it. Or I make friendships, but I never put in the, like, effort to maintain them. And so I'm just like, oh, that's okay. I, like, didn't deserve it. Like, I'm not worthy of that, so.
So I hope to learn from this experience how to feel confident in my skin every day around other women who are similarly minded. But I also hope to teach that it's okay to have imperfections and that it's okay to not embrace them as well. I think it's okay to try to do your best to heal your imperfections instead of embracing them. So I think that's where my experience differs from a lot of women here. I'm not trying to overcome anything at the camp, but I do hope to be inspired by others and to inspire others myself.
I'm from the wonderful and beautiful state of Minnesota with all the lakes you could ever dream of, just like this. And I am a website copywriter, but something I've been exploring here at camp is that I really want to be more of what I would consider a slasher. I feel like when you get really good at something and when people start to know you for it, a lot of times that can almost become your identity. And so something that I'm really challenging myself on is just thinking about the things outside of copywriting that I really want to do. Because I've always seen myself as more of somebody that wants to work on lots of different passion projects at a time with a start date and an end date, and that's really how I do my best work. And for so long I tried to fight that because I felt like the world was for specialists. They weren't for people like me. And so that's something that I've just really been working through is just trying to figure out, outside of even just thinking of myself as a copywriter or a writer or a creative or a poet, what other things can I kind of be experimenting with and doing?
So one of the main reasons why I wanted to come to the Imperfect Boss Camp was because Ashley's really awesome. Ashley's really awesome. She brings a lot of really cool women together who share really vulnerable stories. And she's able to do that on an online platform. So I could only imagine what that would be like in a real life way. And for me, that's actually something that I really struggle with. So I'm able to be vulnerable. I'm able to, share insights into myself and struggles. But I always have this boundary where I kind of sometimes tell myself, like, people don't want to know that about you, or they don't care, or it doesn't matter, or you're just taking up space. One of the things I wanted to do with coming to the Imperfect Boss Camp was actually challenge that boundary that I've set up for myself and be more open and honest about some of my harder moments and some of the darker thoughts that I think, and share that with people. And I've been sharing that with people, and it's been really hard, but you're met with such great reception that it just encourages you to kind of want to keep going.
The reason I came to the Imperfect Boss Camp has actually changed since I initially signed up. When I signed up, I had started a side business, and my mission, my desire was to help women who are like me, who, somewhere in midlife or nearing midlife, felt like they had gone the wrong direction, and just needed support in the transition of trying to pursue what really was meaningful to them. And so I started a coaching business, not really knowing what I was getting into or what that looked like, and not knowing kind of the direction my own life would end up taking over the next 2 years. So I come to the camp this October a lot different than when I signed up a year ago, with my business kind of unraveled a little bit, somewhat intentionally and somewhat unintentionally, or maybe in not the way I intended, and realizing through just my discussions with various other women and through listening to myself and spending a lot of concentrated time journaling and talking to myself and addressing some long held fears, that realizing that the things I really wanted to do, I've been kind of pushing to the side or calling something else, and what I've always wanted to do is write, and it feels like just a really lofty thing to author something that people want to read, and but I've been just spending a lot of time focusing on other things, and even thinking I wanted to support other people in a different way, because somehow I thought it would be less scary than actually writing words that I think will help other people. So yeah, I've had a lot of really great revelations while I've been here. coming here matters just because it's a really big step for me to, you know, be willing to put myself in a vulnerable position of sharing things that, you know, when you're trying to market yourself, I had been trying to market myself as a coach, you don't really want to talk about your own imperfections and your own lack of focus and your own insecurities. And, you know, I knew coming here would really shine a light on all those things. And so I think being here matters because it's showing that I'm willing to do the hard work of just finding out what's underneath and what really needs to be worked on. And, you know, also, if I want to help people, I need to get to know people in a much more genuine way. And then what I'm doing, what I want to be doing, which is writing, and I've always wanted to do it. It matters because I want to talk about some things that there may be other people talking about them, but I know I can bring something different to the conversation. And I think some of the things I want to talk about, like addiction and relationships, you know, nobody has the same experience that I do. So I think that's really important. And I think it's time that I did something, you know, with that.
It probably sounds really simple, but I wish someone would have told me that I was going to be okay, or that I am okay, and that things get better and things will be okay for me, just to reaffirm myself, because I don't really feel like I had that growing up. I feel like growing up there was just so much happening around me that check-ins with my heart weren't really there from my family, and so I think because I was absent of that type of affirmation in my life, I didn't necessarily know if I was ever going to be just okay. Like, to me, being okay would have been enough. I didn't have to be great, I didn't have to be successful, I just want to be okay. And I wish someone would have told me that being okay was attainable, rather than thinking about being successful or being overachieving. Like, you can just be human and you can just literally be okay, and that's enough too. But like I said, I didn't get that much growing up, and so I think that if that is one thing I wish someone would have told me, it would have just been, you're gonna be okay.
I'm Lindsay, also known as Lindsay Erin Clark Aguilar. I own a branding studio called Third Story Apartment, and I am also a podcaster of The Daring Romantics. I don't really get scared easily. I'm like a huge person on affirmation, and so I don't feel like I experience a lot of fear in the way that other people do. I don't know that I'm scared of anything. Am I allowed to say that? I don't know that I'm scared of anything because I know that I'm where I'm supposed to be. I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I know that the people who are meant to hear what I have to say are going to hear what I have to say. I don't care about numbers. I don't care about the following. I care about the one person and making sure that the one person knows that they have magic inside of them. And I know that I've impacted one person today. I know that I'll impact one person tomorrow. And so I feel fully confident in myself and the magic inside of me that I'm going to accomplish everything that I was meant to do because of that. So, no fear.
Hi, my name's Kate. I am an Australian by birth, but I now live about half an hour north of Quebec City, believe it or not. So the last time I planned my life, I was living in London, just enough time to realize I didn't really like London. And so then I went traveling around Europe and I met a boy from here. So I up and moved, and now after the birth of our son, we went a little bit more rural. And then I needed something to do because I'm a theatre designer by trade, and there's not a hell of a lot of theatre out where I live. So I decided to put all my skills together, and I convinced someone to lend me some money, and we bought a big industrial woodworking machine. I put a product on Kickstarter and managed to get people to buy my product, which was really great, and have spent the year kind of developing it out and stuff. So now it's amazing, and I always say that even if it doesn't work, I've had the best year. I have a wood shop on a pretty busy highway. I run a business in French, and I'm kind of on the verge of relaunching a furniture line. So hopefully, hopefully it's all going to go gangbusters. But it's been quite a ride. But I think if it was easy, I wouldn't have wanted to do it. I think there's something in it that I knew it was going to be tough. And so, I don't know, maybe people told me no as a teenager too many times. I was like, I'm going to do it anyway. So, yeah, it's been a ride. They're demons that live within each of us, and they manifest in different ways. But to be presented with them in this kind of environment, it allows you to explore what you've tried to hide away for so long, and that is so important to be able to move forward and to get over it, really. So my biggest demons have always come from not being interesting enough and not being worthy of making the choice of choosing creative arts. That's where all of my demons come from. And the result of that, it leads down a pretty unhealthy lifestyle choice. You are always pushing your personality to its extremes and stuff. And eventually you find yourself surrounded by people that they're not good for you, they're not healthy for you. So you have to make some pretty radical changes to get out of some pretty radical situations. But at the end, if you're able to stop and to talk and to seek out people that you need in your life, if you're able to seek out their energy, then you become stronger for it. And that's why things like this are so important. You surround yourself with people. I think when I get home, I've always kind of fragmented my business into 3 ways, and it's almost 3 ways of making money that there's the 2 ways that I know are going to make me money that I don't enjoy doing, and then there's the 1 way which is selling products that scares the crap out of me, that I've always kind of let fall down the wayside. And I think the energy from this whole camp is going to give me the ability to still continue to do the 2 that do make the money, but really invest again in why I started, why I took on this crazy big project, because there is something in me telling me to do that. Otherwise I would have given up 4 years ago when I started. So I think the energy to follow that through is so important. It's what I needed. At the right time it came along, and it's what I need.
For the longest time, I had what I call the mean middle school girl in my head, and I would let her tell all these narratives to me about all the things I couldn't do. And so I lived this very limited life of, okay, here's the ceiling in my life, and I can only get to the ceiling and never more. And probably as a teenager, my dad gave one of the most freeing gifts where he just would always tell me, like, Kira, you can do anything you put your mind to. And the more I talk to women and have these conversations, women will tell me all these things they want to do, and they're incredible. Like, I want to become a photographer, I want to, write a book. And what happens is I say, okay, like, what next? Like, what's the next step for you? And oftentimes we get so paralyzed by that person in our head telling us all the things we can't do that we don't ever give ourselves the space to dream. And so I just want us as a whole, as a creative community, as women coming together, to let go of that voice that tells us, the voice we told ourselves, and the voice we let other people speak over us, of the things we're not capable of, and just to live in the freedom of what if we live this really wild, beautiful, amazing life because we decided to take a chance on ourselves and we decided to give ourselves the yes we always wanted. And so that's just my hope for us as a community, that we can step out in freedom and really just own the stories that we are called to live in.
I want women to know that imperfect is normal. I want women to know that confidence is something that we build and cultivate. It's not something that someone else hands us or happens overnight. I want women to know that they are powerful beyond measure. And so whatever they're facing in life, they're the one who has more power than anything they're going through. I want women to know that they are worthy of belonging and that they're worthy of community, that they're worthy to be known up close. And I want women to know that they have gifts inside of them that the world needs. And those gifts, when they bring them, will cause them to come alive, but will also be a service to the world. I want women to know that the fact that they're still here tells me they have something to share, and that it's like everything you've been through, you survived, you're still here. I think that more than anything, I want you to know that camp is this safe place. Camp is an opportunity to dive deep and to figure out what's really holding you back. That camp is this place to feel truly known and actually build genuine, real relationships.
that camp is this place to discover your voice and to get the chance to explore what it means to be totally yourself and how powerful that is. That camp is this beautiful moment that we get to share where we do life together and we find real community. Camp is this opportunity for us to forget what it means for a minute to have perfect feeds and perfect lives, and to just have a moment together where we're like, we're human, we're amazing, we're bosses, we're creatives, we're world changers, and the journey of that is beautiful, the journey of that's magnificent, the journey of that is messy as hell, and we need each other in this. That's all.